The baby monitor. Have you ever heard something that you knew wasn't possible, but it was right there? Something so real, so personal, it shakes you in a way you can't explain. Let me tell you about the night I stopped trusting silence. This happened when I was 29. My wife and I had just moved into a small house in upstate New York. It wasn't anything fancy, just quiet, old, and tucked away from the main road. We had a baby boy, 8 months old at the time, first kid. We were still figuring things out. Both of us worked from home, so we'd take shifts watching the baby. That night, it was my turn to stay up and finish a client project in the living room, while my wife slept upstairs with the baby in the crib beside her. We had one of those cheap video baby monitors with night vision, just something we got off Amazon. It sat beside me on the coffee table. The screen showed a dim black and white feed of my son in crib next to our bed. Everything looked peaceful until around 2 a.m. I was half asleep typing when I heard whispering. At first I thought it was the TV, but it was off. I paused my music and the whispering was still there. I leaned forward, turned the volume up on the monitor. It was soft, just on the edge of hearing, but definitely a voice, a man's voice, whispering something over and over. He's mine, he's mine, he's mine. I bolted up the stairs and threw open the bedroom door. My wife shot up, startled. The baby stirred in his crib, safe and sound. I checked every corner, every window, every door was locked. There was nobody in the house. We were alone, or at least we were supposed to be. The next day, I reset the monitor. Figured maybe it picked up a neighbor's signal or something. It worked fine for a while. Days went by. Then I let my guard down. It happened again. Same time. Around 2 a.m., same whisper, he's mine, he's mine, he's mine. Only this time the crib on the screen was empty. No baby. Just a blank mattress. I froze. I didn't breathe. I stared at that screen like I was in a trance. Then the image flickered, and suddenly he was back, lying there, sleeping, like he'd never left. I searched the house again, top to bottom. This time I even went down into the basement. We barely used it, old stone walls, damp air, a few cardboard boxes. That's when I noticed something. Behind the boxes, a small square hole in the wall, about the size of a vent, covered with a wooden panel nailed in. I hadn't seen it before. I pried the wood loose. Behind it was a hollow space, about 3 feet deep, and inside was an old broken baby monitor. Not ours, a different one, yellowed plastic covered in dust. And taped to it was a note, scrawled in messy black ink, he's mine. I threw everything out that night. The monitor, the box, even the note. I didn't sleep for 3 nights straight. My wife thought it was stress, said I was imagining things, but she didn't hear the voice. She didn't see the crib empty. Something wasn't right with this house. We moved a few months later. New place, new monitor. I triple-checked the walls before we moved in. But sometimes when I'm alone, I swear I still hear that whisper in my head. He's mine. It's burned in there now, like it was meant just for me. Make sure you're the only one watching your baby, because someone else might already be. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content, and to watch more scary videos. Sleep tight if you can. Please share with family and friends. The stranger in the school pickup line. Have you ever watched your child being led away by someone who isn't you? This happened when I was 34, picking up my daughter from elementary school. It was a normal Thursday, bright, cool weather. I pulled into the usual pickup lane about 10 minutes early, same as always. My daughter was in first grade, then just 6 years old, and the school had the structured routine where kids waited in a supervised area until their parents' car pulled up. I parked, turned off the engine, and started scrolling through my phone. There were a few cars ahead of me, nothing unusual. That's when I saw her, my daughter, walking across the sidewalk holding the hand of a woman I didn't recognize. She wasn't one of the teachers I knew all of them by name. This woman was too casually dressed. She stood out. But what froze me was my daughter's face. She wasn't crying, not screaming, just confused, like she was trying to process what was happening. I flung my door open and yelled her name loud, louder than I have ever yelled anything in my life. The woman instantly let go of her hand. Just like that. She didn't run, didn't flinch. She just kept walking, calm, like she hadn't done anything wrong. I ran to my daughter, knelt down, and pulled her close to me. My heart was in my throat. The woman paused, turned her head back slowly, and gave me this look, not angry, not panicked, just this dead, flat smile, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes. Then she walked around the corner of the building and disappeared. I reported it immediately to the school office. We filed a police report that same day. The weirdest part, there was a security camera in that exact spot. But during that window of time, less than 5 minutes, a delivery truck had been parked right in front of it, blocking the view. The woman's face never showed up on footage. She didn't check in at the front office. No one saw where she came from, and she was gone before anyone else really noticed. And then I got a text. It was from an unknown number. No name, no message, just a photo. My daughter, playing in our backyard. She was on the swing set, laughing. I remembered that day, but the photo wasn't taken from inside the yard. It was taken from outside the fence, from the woods behind our property. I froze. My mouth went dry. I called the police again, but the number was untraceable. The image metadata was wiped. Whoever sent it knew what they were doing. We moved 2 weeks later. No warning, no notice. We just packed up and left. And here's the part that still keeps me up at night. A few months after we settled into our new place, I was going through my daughter's backpack one evening. I found a small folded note inside. No name, no address. Just a single sentence, written in neat, almost childish handwriting. I liked our walk. Can we do it again soon? I never found out who she was. No arrests, no answers, no closure. But some nights when it's quiet and I glance out into the yard, I still feel like someone is waiting. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content, and to watch more scary videos. Sleep tight if you can. Please share with family and friends. The night she stopped crying. What if the one thing that kept you up every night suddenly stopped? Would you be relieved, or would you be terrified? It was on a super cold day when my wife and I brought our newborn daughter home for the first time. Not known things were about to get weird. We stepped inside filled with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Our daughter Ava was born in the dead of winter. The hospital room was warm, but outside the world was a frozen wonderland. And from the very first night, she cried like clockwork. 3:14 a.m. every single night. It was as if she had an internal alarm set to that exact time. Not a minute before or after. The precision was uncanny, almost eerie. We chalked it up to colic or a weird sleep schedule. We tried everything, rocking her, feeding her, singing lullabies, but nothing seemed to work. After a week, it started to feel off. The regularity of her cries, the exact timing, it was all too strange. We began to wonder if there was something more to it, something we were missing. Then one night she didn't cry. I woke up at 3:30 in a panic. The house was dead silent. I rushed to Ava's crib, but she was fine, fast asleep. My wife slept through it too. The next night, same thing. Silence at 3:14, and the next, and the next. But that's when we started hearing them. Footsteps above us. We lived in a one-story house. There shouldn't have been anyone above us. Every night I'd get up to check, but the attic hatch was sealed shut. No sign of entry, but the footsteps, they never stopped. Eventually I set up a motion detector in the hallway outside Ava's room. I had been hearing strange noises at night and wanted to get to the bottom of it. The device was supposed to catch any movement and alert me, just to see if I was going crazy. I needed some sort of proof, something tangible, to explain the odd occurrences. On the first night, it triggered at exactly 3:14 a.m. The sudden activation startled me awake. I looked in on Ava. She was asleep with a slight smile on her face. The next morning, I checked the footage. There was nothing. No sign of an intruder, no person, no shadow. The hallway was completely empty, as if nothing had happened at all. Just the motion detector light turning on, like someone had walked by. It was eerie, almost as if an invisible presence had triggered it. Later that day, we decided to check the attic. It had been years since anyone had ventured up there, and curiosity got the better of us. I forced the hatch open and climbed up, the old wooden ladder creaking under my weight. The air was thick with dust and the smell of forgotten memories. What we found still haunts me to this day. It was as if time had stood still in that dark, cramped space. A box of old toys, children's shoes, and crumpled drawings lay scattered around. Each item seemed to tell a story of a past life. Most were covered in dust except for one. A doll. It stood out almost as if it had been placed there recently. With Ava's name written on the foot, the doll seemed eerily personal, like a message from the past. Why was our daughter's name on the foot of this doll? We don't know who lived there before us. The house had been vacant for years, and the previous tenants left no trace. The landlord refused to talk about it. Every time we asked, he would change the subject, or avoid our calls. It was as if he was hiding something. We moved out 3 months early, ate the deposit, didn't care, but Ava never cried at 3:14 a.m. again. But every so often in our new place, I still hear those footsteps, above me. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content, and to watch more scary videos. Sleep tight if you can. Please share with family and friends. The missing bedtime story. Have you ever been alone with your child and they said something that sent a chill down your spine? Something that made you question what they really see when they stare into the darkness? This happened when my son was 5 years old. My wife was working late that night, so it was just me and my son, Jake. We had a little routine dinner, a bath, and then I'd read him a bedtime story. He loved this old book called The Sleepy Woods, a collection of fairy tales, like stories that my mother used to read to me when I was his age. That night I remember the house felt unusually quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you feel like you're the only person in the world. The kitchen was dimly lit, casting long shadows on the walls as I prepared a simple dinner. Jake was in the living room, playing with his toy cars, his laughter occasionally breaking the silence. After dinner, I ran a warm bath for Jake. He loved playing with his rubber duckies and toy boats, making up little stories as he splashed around. It was one of those moments that made me realize how quickly he was growing up. Once he was all clean and in his pajamas, we settled into his bed for some story time. The Sleepy Woods was his favorite book, and I could see why. It was filled with enchanting tales of magical creatures and faraway lands. As I read, Jake's eyes would light up with wonder, and I could see the stories coming to life in his imagination. That night, as I read the familiar words, I felt a deep sense of connection to my own childhood. My mother used to read the same stories to me, and now I was passing them on to my son. It was a comforting thought, knowing that these tales had been a part of our family for generations. After the story, I tucked Jake in and kissed him goodnight. As I turned off the light and closed the door, I could not help but feel a sense of peace. Despite the quiet and the darkness, the house felt warm and safe. It was just me and my son, sharing a simple yet magical night together. The next night, Jake asked me to read him the story about the man in the woods. I hesitated. There was no story like that in the book. I asked him what he was talking about, and he just smiled and said, "You read it to me last night, Daddy." I was puzzled. I had no recollection of reading such a story. The book he held was a collection of classic fairy tales, none of which mentioned a man in the woods. I flipped through the pages, scanning for any hint of this mysterious tale. Nothing. Every story was recognizable. "Are you sure, Jake?" I asked, my voice tinged with confusion. "Maybe you dreamed it?" Jake shook his head vigorously. "No, Daddy, you read it to me last night. It was about the man in the woods with the glowing eyes. He was looking for something." A chill ran down my spine. Glowing eyes? This wasn't the kind of story I would read to my son. I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe he had seen something on TV or heard it from a friend. But Jake was insistent. "Please, Daddy." "Read it again," he pleaded, his eyes wide with anticipation. I sighed, closing the book. "How about we read Jack and the Beanstalk instead?" I suggested, hoping to divert his attention. Jake's face fell, but he nodded reluctantly. As I began reading, my mind wandered. Where had he heard about the man in the woods? And why was he so certain I had read it to him? The questions lingered, unsettling me more than I cared to admit. About an hour later, I heard Jake talking. Not yelling or crying, just talking in a calm, almost conversational tone. I crept up the stairs and stood outside his room listening. Jake's voice was soft and steady. "Okay. Yeah, but Daddy said not to go outside." A pause. Then Jake said, "Okay, but why can't you come inside?" I felt a chill run down my spine. Who was he talking to? The house was silent except for Jake's voice. I leaned closer to the door, trying to make out more of the conversation. Jake continued, his tone unwavering, as if he was speaking to an old friend. "But Daddy said it's dangerous out there. He said we have to stay inside where it's safe." Another pause followed, longer this time. I could almost hear the silence pressing in around me. Then Jake spoke again. "I know you want to play, but I can't. Daddy will be mad if I go outside." His words were filled with a mix of innocence and concern. My heart pounded in my chest as I strained to hear any other sounds. Was there someone else in the room with him? Or was he talking to himself? The thought of an unseen presence made my skin crawl. Jake's voice broke the silence once more. "Why can't you come inside? It's warm here and we have toys." His words were inviting, almost pleading. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know who or what he was talking to. Slowly I turned the doorknob and pushed the door open. My breath held tight in my chest. The room was dimly lit by the nightlight in the corner, casting shadows on the walls. Jake sat on his bed, looking towards the window. There was no one else there. My mind raced with possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. "Jake," I whispered, my voice trembling. "Who are you talking to?" He turned to me, his eyes wide and innocent. "My friend," he said simply. "He wants to come inside, but he can't." I felt a shiver run through me as I glanced at the window, half expecting to see a face peering in. But there was nothing, just the darkness outside and the faint rustling of the wind. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. "It's time to sleep now." "Jake," I said softly, "we'll talk about your friend in the morning." He nodded, lying down and pulling the covers up to his chin. As I closed the door, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching us, waiting just beyond the window. The next morning I asked who he was talking to. He just pointed at the window and said, "The man from the woods." I talked with my wife about this. We decided to move. We moved a month later. At our new place, when I checked on Jake at night, he's staring at the window, whispering to someone I can't see. This thing followed him here, and every night I sit outside his door just listening, because I can't shake the feeling that one night someone might answer back. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content, and to watch more scary videos. Sleep tight if you can. Please share with family and friends.